Well, Diego, welcome to IVA, the Royal Academy of Engineering Sciences here in Stockholm. And congratulations for becoming a fellow, an international fellow.
Thanks a lot.
So this is our first chance for payback, to tap your brain on innovation and building new industry, which I know is very close to you. 5 years ago, roughly, I think 4 or 5 years ago, I think some people in Europe, including the key people in Brussels, discovered, so to say, that Europe was about to fall behind in an important area, with electric vehicles and the key component batteries. Then they contacted you, Diego. So tell us a little about, because we know it's a success story, but tell us the background of what happened, really.
Well, they contacted us, I must say, Bo, and I would like to bring you into the early days of this endeavor, and basically to put the question: A, have we lost the race vis-à-vis the Asians, or still we stand a chance to be a player in this? And why did they contact us? Because we had a track record of investments in a storage at large, not only electromobility, but also storage. And they just put that as question. And remember, you and me one afternoon in Brussels, after having one good beer of the good Belgian beers, in the blackboard, just setting the ambition. And we set an ambition that was that by 2025, there will be like 60 million cars, EVs on the road. And then when we transmitted this ambition to all the constituencies, everybody was extremely skeptical, if not opposing, or telling us crazy, except one person, Maros Sefcovic, at the time, Vice President and responsible of the Energy Union. And he believed in our ambition, and then he gave us the mandate to run the famous European Battery Alliance. And as you say, it has been a success. Just to quote, so last year, 2020, the number of EVs sold in Europe outperformed in China, so 1.3 versus 1.1 million, and tripled the ones in the States. Whereas in 2017, basically, it was nowhere to be seen. And because at the end, it's a product that we consumers will consume that incorporates batteries. So the whole journey has been thriving. And not only we have created an industry for Europe that will create jobs and growth, but also I think we have transformed the way the industry policy is being addressed today in Europe. That is not about technology, it's about industrial value chains.
But isn't that also, I mean, a good example of leadership?
It's a good example of leadership and of an ambitious goal. Yeah. I think that the key success factors of this endeavor has been, and again, I think it's a joint baby from both of us and our teams, is to set an ambition out of the box. It's to have a political sponsor that is believing, that will leverage the regulatory, the Commission services, the EIB to give the signals to the private world that this could be achieved, and the regulation adapting, is that is not one piece of the industrial value chain, but all the value chain end-to-end that needs to be incorporated, and also all the players, not only industry, but also financial institutions, research on. So I think that the Battery Alliance has been a first of a kind for addressing industrial strategy in a different way.
But how do you see that? Because I mean, the reaction from the incumbent industry versus newcomers, and how could they make it work together to be stronger together?
Well, again, I think that it was leadership, as you said before, and we are creating a pie where everybody can benefit. So there was the combustion engine pie, and then there was the to-be electric vehicle pie with batteries around. And we were able to convince that this pie was much bigger in terms of business and much cleaner for the world and for the next generation than this one. And it took us 18 months until that spring 2019 when Volkswagen decided Volkswagen, the first manufacturer in the world, to get into electromobility big time and batteries, that it took us our time. But 18 months is no time in such a disruptive change of industry.
But if you broaden this, I mean, how do you see innovation climate in Europe? Because you said one of the missions when it was started was to break, so to say, this bad habit of not being able to transform good ideas into tangible industries.
Yeah.
How do you see it today?
So innovation is a much better atmosphere. If I take my own personal example, back in 1986 when I graduated as an engineer in Spain, then I told my parents, hey, I'm going to start my own company. Then my father said, "Stump up." And my mother said, "That's the very bad news, Diego. I mean, you should get into the public sector or into a big corporation because that's a safe job."
Yeah.
Now we are 34 years down the road, and I would say that most of the parents, if any of their children would say, "Hey, I will start Eget, I will start my own company," would say, "Hey, thumbs up, go ahead." So there's a cultural change that has happened that is accelerating. I mean, my answer would not be the same 4 years ago. Now, I must say it's accelerating, and we'll see that accelerating. My 3 kids, the 3 of them are thinking of starting their own shop. So as far as entrepreneurship is concerned, it's a completely different cultural thing.
Yeah.
As far as innovation is concerned and how the public sector supports innovation, I think that we still have things to do. The gap between the States, the United States, where they're thriving, and Europe, there are 3 main things that should be bridged the gap. Number 1 is what they call the innovative public procurement. Silicon Valley and those guys, they have got not supply money, that is also important, but they have demand money. So the Pentagon is a consumer of the research and innovative products of the Silicon Valley. So, and what we innovators we want is off-takers and first early adopters of the products. The supply side is the second thing that the States is a bit better, not in terms of public support, they are equal, but just in terms of VC support, so the risk money. That there, the conditions for the risk money in Europe are not the same and not as favorable as they are in the States. So those 2 things, so demand side money, customers, and supply side, that is investors, is something that we have to bridge the gap. And the third thing is this cultural thing that I think we have done our homework. Now, to innovate is not something seen as strange. Entrepreneurs don't think that's strange guys. It's welcomed culturally by the different establishments.
But that leads into that. You mentioned financing here, because I mean, you have obviously jealous about the possibilities of finance. I mean, and how do you see it? Because we have seen some development that as well in Europe, haven't we?
We have, and especially in our area, in energy, and the Commission has just approved the taxonomy for what is green investments last March, and will come into force this September. You will see a huge transfer of investments that today are in other areas into green. Just one data, today, if you add up the average of the investments of the banks, the private equity, the asset managers in green is 7% of their portfolio. They will be obliged to have around 30% by 2025. That means a huge transfer of investment will go to green. So there will be a massive amount of private money going there. In terms of public money, I think the supply side, so grants, and that's we're good, but we need to have the public sector as a demand, so off-taker of early stage innovations coming from the universities and the innovators. And only one number. Horizon Europe, that is as you know, the research and innovation budget for Europe for 7 years is around 90 billion euros. The purchasing power today of energy-related services in Europe per year is 200 billion. 90 billion, 200 billion. So in 1 year is almost twice compared to 7 years. So let's leverage this rather than to print new money as a supply side money.
Then another area which I know there you are, because in energy you also have actually education and training, and on a broader base, skills and the skill gaps or whatever. Because in this transformation, what is your view on this?
The speed of transformation is the speed of human capital transformation. Technology, I don't have any concern. Money, I don't have any concern. Human capital takes time. If you just look at the battery world, we need between now and 2025, 800,000 skilled workers, white collars and blue collars, to be able to feed the ambition that we have as Europeans. 800,000 in 4 years, it's an outstanding task. Our educational system, our professional training system is not up to the task. There's never been such a huge volume to be created in such a short time. And we knew this. When we launched the IVA back in 2017, we identified already in the spring 2018 that that will be one of the stretch things.
This seems to also be, what do you see, is the public system doing enough there? Are they fast enough?
Definitely not. It's because of the speed. Yeah. I think that I remember when back in 2018, a meeting in Stuttgart University, I said, hey, how many master programs do you have in mechanical engineering? Mechanical engineering, you need that for the conversion. Right. And they have 70. Then I put the question to the rector of Stuttgart University. Don't you think that you should start already creating syllabus content offering for the electric powertrains coming up? Oh, that will take time. Well, we are today. And what is the intake of those 70 master programs in mechanical engineering? Almost nothing. So the speed is lacking in the public offering, big time.
Okay. Then if you turn, because we are at the Academy of Engineering here in Stockholm, and they have, if I read what they say, the mission statement they have is like this: the Royal Swedish Academy of Engineering Sciences, IVA, build bridges between business community, academia, and policymakers. How does that, because it seems to be quite similar to what you believe you're doing.
I'm smiling because it's the same mission, but we put one word in our mission statement that is not only build bridges, but demonstrate that those three institutional dimensions working together deliver more than themselves working separately. Okay. So we are measuring in our mission statement that this is a more productive way of working. If I understand, IVA is about building the bridges, but not measuring how the bridges are crossed. But I'm smiling because it's very proud. Yeah.
Let's follow up this question about the academy, because I mean, as we notice here, there are some things that are quite similar to what you have relate to energy activities, but also some differences there. But on a broader scale, where would you like to see the academies? I mean, where can they contribute? And last but not least, how do you see that you can contribute to the academy, both ways?
So first, I must again be extremely grateful for being selected as an international member. And also, you know that my wife is Swedish. Yeah. So when I shared that with my Swedish family, it was a huge honor. And a lot of recognition. And why? Because the way I was told IVA is contributing to the development of Sweden as a country and as an economy, it's what I think should be what the Academy is doing is you are independent, you are neutral, and the key decision makers, they seek your advice when they have to deploy any strategy. Yeah. And this, for me, the role is people that are not pressed by the P&L, by reporting to the markets, by having a board that tells them to do X or Y or Z, is independent people that with the facts, the experience, and the knowledge, they say, hey, the right things to do for the good of an economy of a country is this pathway. Then it will be you politicians to decide whether or not you follow that advice. But that independent advice and guidance is of so much relevance also in today's world, where we're too much into the shortcut, into the tomorrow, into the decision for having a result in 5 seconds. So this, please keep that role, as I understand it, because it's the way to bring breathing space and a strategic direction to where our world and Europe should be going. And my contribution to IVA is, upon this, is to have the demonstration effect that what you are promoting and advising can be implemented, delivered, and that the result creates the impact that you are recognizing and could create.
Yeah. I know you're an optimistic person, but still, if you try to put the realistic hat on, so where do you believe we are in 2030 in terms of all these critical issues, everything from the climate issue, from where we are in the economy, and what do you see?
So taking out my very aggressive hat and putting my realistic hat, and you're gonna laugh, because then what you would be asking yourself, what is a crazy hat? By 2030, energy will be for free. Number one, since everything that we have around us, 27% of the cost is energy, what can we do in a world where 27% of the cost disappears? In only 9 years.
Yeah.
And the third thing is the famous 2050 carbon neutral is going to happen much faster and in the money. So it's not going to happen only faster because the policymakers are going to drive us there. It's because it's going to be worth for business to make that happen earlier.
But in a world, assume that you're right, energy is for free. I mean, that resembles what we see in the telecom business, where things are becoming for free also. So, I mean, what kind of business model would you imagine? Because someone needs the money to build things still.
Well, definitely the deployment money for creating electrons or molecules of hydrogen will not generate for a return for shareholders. But to your question, that is a very critical question. My answer today, and I think it's not the right answer, is I think that the criteria upon which we measure return on money will change. Will not be anymore that I lend you 100, you have to give me back 120. There will be other concepts that will be in the equation. Like today you have the famous triple P, profit, planet, and people. And planet and people will have, in the equation, will have a meaning, not only profit. That's number one, in terms of that the business rules will be different. And second, that we will see that there will be what I call the syndication or the sector coupling. You will have energy production plus a semi-product that is down in the value chain, and the whole thing will be what is sold. Example, you know that we are today in Buden erecting a new steel, green steel. So the hydrogen there, the energy to create the hydrogen, to create the steel that will be in the cars, the energy will be for free, but the hydrogen and the steel will be paid. So it will be a component that today is not included in the bill of materials of the end product. Maybe that's a very technical answer to your question, but again, we have to look at things differently. Not that siloed, but energy just as one component as today is air. Air, we don't pay for air. But still we're breathing our plant. When we eat a tomato, the tomato has been grown with air that is for free. The energy that will be included in the car, in the steel, will be for free. For free, yeah, asymptotic.
Thank you very much, Diego, and I hope we will continue to, as I said, tap your brain, because the world doesn't stop tomorrow. Absolutely. So thank you again.
Thanks a lot, Wu, and thanks to IVA for accepting me as international board member. Yeah.